So I have another question. So when you are looking at, obviously, you can go to your campaign manager and then you can see the ACOS and blah, blah. That's the total.
Sure.
But when you want to drill down, especially if you've done the segmentation in a fairly diverse way, you want to look at each one and you download your reports. So let's say that you're looking at it daily and you look at, okay, so let's say you're looking at yesterday's data today. So you pull the report, you look at yesterday's data, and there you have your click cost, you have your click-through rate and impressions, blah, blah. But you are looking for the sales you generated. So
yeah, certainly trying to drive more sales within a given constraint of an ACOS target, right? It's like,
yeah.
how many sales can I get within this margin or with this margin?
So this is where things start to get a little bit confusing, because when you look at yesterday's data today, and then you say, okay, how much sales did that click cost generate? That is not a permanent number, is it?
No. Yeah, I think what you're talking to is if you're looking at yesterday's data for the next 7 days, you're gonna, or I think is it 7 days? Yeah, 7 days. You're gonna have sales being attributed to those clicks that happened on that day. So to your point, never just look at one individual day of data to inform how you're analyzing your campaigns. One individual day is not enough information to inform in most cases. I mean, sometimes that's all you have, right? So a lot of times you need more than that. Generally, I would say 7 days is kind of like a minimum that I would want to look at to just kind of evaluate the aggregated performance of a campaign to see how it like changes throughout the full week. So yeah, I'm not just looking at like an individual day. There are certainly cases where I do just need to look at an individual day in order to inform what types of changes I need to make. But yeah, to your point, the yesterday's data isn't fully populated yet. Not all the sales have been attributed yet. And so therefore we should probably wait a little bit longer to see how the metrics actually settle.
So sure, I mean, it's the overall performance over a period of time that will give you a much better understanding. But that overall performance over a period of time is, at the end of the day, made up of individual days. And what I'm referring to is the sales for each individual day is also changing every day, because even though the click is registered to each day, by the end of the day, whatever clicks were generated on that day, you will see in the report, this is how many clicks this keyword got. And when you then look at the sales data for that day, it may show $100, but you pull yesterday's data 3 days from now, it may show $300 because $200 may have come in 2-3 days later. So that's my point. So when you pull the data, are you familiar with what data is the permanent value that you will see on that day that is not going to change?
Yeah. So, I mean, this is a whole conversation of data confidence versus data relevance. So over a longer date range, say I'm looking at 60 to 90 days worth of data across my campaigns, I have a lot more confidence in the metrics behind those because it's a more aggregated view. It's giving me a broader time horizon to look at. I can be confident in the performance that I got within that date range because it's over a period of time. I could also get into, now the other end of the spectrum is you get into data relevance. So the most relevant data is going to be, the most recent days of data. And so you kind of have to find this balance of whenever you're doing analysis, are you trying to inform optimizations going into the next period? Are you just trying to evaluate, previous month's data or something like that? It just kind of depends on what you're doing, but it really all stems from how confident you can be in that data versus how relevant that data is to a period that you're going into, which is kind of what you were talking about. When you're looking at more recent data, it's more relevant. It may not be fully settled. But it would inform the optimizations. We can kind of expect similar performance in the next week if nothing changes. And there's that. So yeah, I think 14 days is generally like the attribution window where everything really settles and you can be like fully confident in it. But in general, I think you get 90%, 95% of the results that you're going to get within the first 2-3 days of attribution. So, I mean, as long as you're waiting at least a little bit for that data to settle, I think you can rely on those metrics a little bit. Yeah, you may have some stuff that attributes a little bit later, but like, maybe that's depending on the size of the account, I guess it can vary, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you actually just answered my question because when you download the report, it shows sales, and then I believe they have 7-day sales and 14-day sales. So
Yep.
where it really settles down and doesn't change anymore is the 14-day sales. So
Well, that varies on what ad type you're looking at too, or where you're looking at it, right? Are you pulling it in a report or are you looking at it in the console? Because sometimes the console is 7 days, but the reports are 14. And so you may have, or you're looking at the API, maybe it's a little bit different. So it depends on where you're looking at. It depends on where you're looking, what attribution window you're going to be working with. So yeah, understanding what those are, especially for different ad types too, I think kind of vary as well. Like sponsored brands, I think is 14, whereas sponsored products is 7. I don't know that for a fact. Don't quote me, but yeah, something like that.